Good afternoon to you all. Daniel Miller here. How's everybody doing? And a happy new year to everyone, to all of our community members, gamers, friends, viewers, fans, everyone who participated and who participates here on the channel every single day. We've had our New Year's broadcast already a couple of days ago, and I basically reviewed everything that we've been completing in the course of the last 12 months and also outlined the plan for the following year. And as you probably would have seen, the plan is providing us with some alterations to the structure of this channel. And I think this is primarily in view of all the data collected and collated from the community over the last few months. We really conducted several polls and some questionnaires. We talked live on air on all that is to be seen as probably most interactive and most enjoyable and entertaining for everyone. Therefore, I'm going to be tailoring the channel somewhat. So today is the first day of the new 2021 season, winter season of broadcasts here on my channel, and as you know, we'll have kind of seasonal content delivered in between the seasons. I'll take sometimes shorter and at other times lengthier breaks in order to recharge batteries, to recover, to reconsider, to analyze, to talk to the community members and decide on what the best way forward there may be for us all. And Twitch streaming, as you know, is a very dynamic, very flexible, very energetic activity. It's a new form of communication for everyone who has been joining forces with the other gamers worldwide. And as we've seen in recent podcasts and reviews, certainly during the last year, it has really reached unprecedented heights. Nobody had expected the gaming activities to be so popular, with so many people participating every single day. We are topping 3 billion people entering the arena of video gaming online every single day on all platforms, and that is a mind-boggling, staggering figure, telling you and indicating that this activity is very, very popular. It is bringing to our lives something we've not had before, and I'll try to explain briefly what that is, really, the way I see it. I mean, first of all, video gaming is similar to any other niche interest activity, based activity, like for instance watching television series, watching documentaries, liking or loving certain types of live acts, watching them live on stage, belonging to some of their communities, being a member of a film club or film museum, and being attached to a group of dedicated hardcore film archive veterans where you share your interests and views with them. Well, it's very similar to all of that, because at the end of the day, what we have here is the same, just in a globalized, instantly accessible arena online, and that really is comprising the interest and the passion for video gaming and graphic novels and visual arts, with various forms of communication. And I have to say, as a gamer and a kind of film industry veteran, a person who's been both watching films and playing games for many, many years, literally throughout the whole life, I can certainly tell you that the combination of the two, its integration, has been literally developing at an unprecedented pace. I really did not expect all of that to be unraveling so fast, thanks to on one hand, the technology experts who obviously worked on the tech side of things, made it accessible and possible. On the other hand, also thanks to all the community members, punters, fans, viewers, gamers, participants who were interacting, because they discovered the new ways through which they'll connect with other people worldwide. And those two combined gave us the wonder that is called Twitch, or indeed YouTube, where we can stream our favorite games with passion online and build our own communities and establish our own viewers and gamers and friends who will be here with us every single day. And I did participate in a live forum which was delivered at the European headquarters of Twitch. I think it was last year or 2 years ago now, and we discussed all the growth and everything that took place, and really the overall feeling was that the exponential growth of streaming on Twitch took place after the year of 2015, and that was indeed the pivotal year for all that we are seeing today, developed unraveled and fully evolved here online. So coming back to my earlier description, video gaming online and streaming provides us with this opportunity, first of all, to share our passionate interest with other people who are literally located anywhere on the planet. And that gives us an instant opportunity to share what we actually love doing the most. It doesn't have to be just connected to a particular game, but as you are in live forum, as you're entering a discussion with other punters and friends, you discover other interests and you basically create new bonds. So really the reason as to why we have more than 3 billion people entering the arena every day is exactly to do with that. First of all, it is a fantastic, tremendous instant respite from everyday ills, pressures and anxieties as experienced particularly at this very, very difficult time when the world is suffering from this absolutely ghastly COVID pandemic. It's a way through which you can relax, you can enter a fantasy world, and also most importantly you can enter together with your friends and then provide some absolute fantastic, terrific quality entertainment for yourself and others here to these live forums. You will share interests, you will share your thoughts and views, and you will gather other people who are wanting to be both like-minded and part of your squad, or indeed your online gaming activity, whatever that may be. So really the comms are critical in all of this. Being able to talk live, being able to connect with others, share thoughts, emotions, views, and all the other reflections on all that you've been doing. That is absolutely critical, because if you go back in time and if you consider what multiplayers looked like on, let's say, the 1990s PCs and the community base run certain games like Diablo, Elder Scrolls, you would have had people building a very, very small group that was there every single day together with them, but they were not really making their activity accessible to random viewers or random participants, which is the case with Twitch and YouTube today. So the actual forum had experienced a massive expansion and that brought us many other benefits. For instance, if you look at this channel, we've been doing obviously a thorough review of 2020 a couple of days ago, but I'll just give you a very brief description of what I had accomplished and completed here together with all of my community participants. I mean, first of all, as a professional who was running a hub dedicated to film industry and cinema history, I considered different ways through which I can build communities and make the knowledge of film history more accessible to those people who are perhaps not very familiar with some of the facts and figures. And I've worked on different concepts and ideas with podcasts and blogs and various other online forums. But then I discovered Twitch, and I thought, well, film history is a very niche area and it will be attracting a smaller number of people. It may be a good idea to try out building the same sort of community in an area of in the field of video gaming, which obviously is applied to many more people worldwide, and certainly an activity that is considered to be one of the most popular. On the other hand, if you're looking at a specialist hub dedicating time and information to the industry insiders, it will have a particular shape and format. It will require a lot of preparation, a lot of written memos and articles, and it's just like a fully 24/7 type of project, which requires attention and indeed a degree of legal responsibility. If you are, for instance, reading out information on certain box office records or the plans for certain films to get crews together, you've got to be really absolutely top-notch and absolutely certain that the information is from the right source and that you're not really disseminating something that could cause any eyebrows to be raised. Not to say that if you were doing the same thing here with the industry, particularly of today, 5-6 years later, when I compare my intentions of, let's say, 2014, 2015, that this wouldn't happen. It certainly would. But I think we are talking about a forum and the field that gives access to many more people from worldwide right, who have quite a diverse selection of interests. And you know, similar to films, video gaming does have a variety of different genres and subgroups, and you have people who like platformers, RPGs, or FPS, or PvP, and So certainly for me, considering what I could be doing as an experiment, it seemed at the time, particularly in view of the fact that Twitch was receiving this exponential rise within the previous 18 months, it seemed like a really good idea for me to build a community around one of the most popular, or maybe a couple of most popular video games on Earth, and I had chosen Destiny with a very, very good reason in mind. Destiny, when launched, was almost like an extension of Halo, and Halo had been one of the most popular community-based games of all times, developed by Bungie originally and launched on Xbox Original. I obviously had the machine, and I played the game at the time, was a member of that community, and obviously the days of multiplayer on the original Xbox are treasured by everyone, because they did actually make the overall connectivity easy compared to what we had on PCs, and the community was very, very great. There were lots of people in there, and people just loved the activity of Master Chiefs and all the other guys in Halo Trilogy. So really, Destiny was the game that was a step up, both visually and graphically, as well as with its kind of in-game mechanics and concepts. And also it was a game that wanted to capitalize on the overall experience of that Halo community that was coming to Bungie and other developers within a period of about 13 years. And certainly the intention was to make a game where you would need to be doing something with others. You will need to have a buddy to help you out, you will need to have another person to step in and provide you with other bits of knowledge, tips, experience in order to guide you to a particular task, to know exactly what quest you should be doing first, and also in what way you should be completing certain tasks, because some of those were very complicated and there was no in-game tutorial. So quite frankly, if you were a novice, you would find yourself stranded with many different avenues of gameplay, but actually knowing what to do first, what to do next. And I think that itself is one of those greatest values of the Destiny 1 game, and one of the reasons as to why I thought if I was to be experimenting with the creation of my own community online, having a game that requires that degree of interaction and effort will actually bring everything together. This was a very good decision. I tested waters first with Hard Rain, and one of my favorite film noir type of games, and just to see how the tech side of things would work. And then we kicked off with Destiny as being the major backbone game of this channel right from the beginning, and that turned out to be really truly wonderful and very, very successful. Within first few weeks, so I was streaming Destiny 1 every single day. We had very many Destiny veterans popping in, saying hello, connecting, building the community, and everything just literally rose from strength to strength ever since. The community as it stands today is about 400 big, and by that I mean 400 people who are not just followers, but these are people who are constantly and continuously both playing Destiny 1 and 2 and contributing to the channel, as well as coming in to connect with perhaps some other like-minded souls when they're looking for squads and for various other activities in here. And we've expanded from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is a much greater, much bigger game. It's somewhat more complex. It's not more difficult, I have to say, and in fact yesterday we had some discussions on Discord about this with some of our veterans who still think that Destiny 1 is a much more complex, more satisfying, and also in terms of the actual single gamer participation, more gratifying type of game compared to the sequel. But I have to say it's also a lot less diverse. It doesn't provide something for everyone, and it is a game for a particular kind of gamer, people who will like Mass Effect or Elder Scrolls style gaming but very strong story literally throughout, may not be excited with Destiny 1 for a very, very simple reason. The game doesn't have a linear storytelling, and therefore you will require a substantial team effort, group input, in order to get to the particular line of gameplay that will be satisfying. Otherwise, it could feel a bit like you're running amok, you're not quite sure, what mission to do next, you might be stuck on patrols or something. So one way or the other, this was the best possible way through which to build a community. And I've had messages of support and also several questioning what is the best way, if you're a streamer, to build your own community, because you get younger, less experienced streamers and gamers and people of younger generation watching all these hundreds of thousands of likes and followers and all sorts everywhere, and they usually ask, well, we can see that somebody just started out a month ago and they already have like 20,000 followers. Well, first of all, you need to ask the question, where did these followers come from? Are those followers genuine? Is this person a complete novice, or did they have already another channel that was operating for 10 plus years? Because you had people who were doing, for instance, podcasts in the previous decade, and then once the streaming came on stage, then they just embraced the new forum and they migrated the communities. And then initially they didn't have anything with visuals, they were just doing like a radio show. Then basically started doing the video cam, and altogether it was a lengthy evolution. So they might come up with a statement indicating they've been around for a couple of months, but actually they might have been working on this for like 10-15 years, if there are mature streamers. For youngsters who literally had set up everything during the previous month, if they have 20-30,000 followers, you've got to ask a question: are those followers and members rather genuine, or whether this is some sort of a deal which they have with a major sponsorship that some companies are providing investment or using algorithms to basically provide them with advertising, because they will appreciate anybody who gets into sponsorships and they become part and parcel of algorithms that are linked to Instagram, Facebook, or any other major hub, will get lots of people joining them rather quickly. It's just purely the way the whole thing works. You become present on various different platforms, you keep popping up all the time in the basic rule of advertising, regularity, in order to be chiseled into somebody's mind, and therefore people simply come in initially because they're curious, and then secondly they like your content, or even sometimes they like something they've seen, or just they want to be supporting a particular channel. To simplify, building a community on Twitch or YouTube, if you're a streamer, is a very daunting, very lengthy, very time-consuming task, which will take place over many years. It isn't something that will happen overnight. Presently, if you were a Twitch streamer during the first few months of the company, then obviously you would have many more people popping in from the beginning because there were fewer participants. But today this is a very, very well developed activity. You have very many individuals doing fantastic content creation on those hubs, and really, quite frankly, if you look at the diversity and versatility, the quality of that content, the number of games and different types of ideas which are being introduced that include non-gaming activities like singing, playing music, performing, stand-up comedians, cooking, the quantity of things on offer is literally sky high, and plenty of opportunity for everyone to fully evolve and present their broadcasting skills in order to entertain their own communities, also to learn, and it's a constant learning process. So if you were looking at the actual time span, and a lot of younger gamers pop in and say, can I have a few thousand people in 2 months? Well, up to you really whether you can or not, but I think the way to build a community first is by deciding on the right thing from the beginning. So number one is the choice of game that you are going to be presenting. So that's number one. That's very, very important. Number two is the way you are going to be coming across. Initially, right from the beginning, you have to decide whether to have your cam on or whether you want to do it like a podcast. Don't forget, those two ways of doing your broadcast will determine exactly how people will perceive you. So if you are a highly articulate, highly educated individual, person who is very comfortable with the use of words and semantics overall, somebody who already had some experience with public speaking, maybe presentations live, maybe if you were at college, school, or at workplace doing PowerPoint presentations, you'll find it a lot easier to do some of those things immediately because you already have a lot of experience. It's no different to anything else you would have done live, and quite frankly, you have got to be doing everything as you otherwise would, which means you are going to be talking and you are going to be presenting your material to random viewers and listeners, and you will be able to engage as many people as possible through the quality presentation. So initially, if you want to be doing it just in order to deliver your voice, you will be attracting a certain number of participants. People who are relying on high quality content, people who like listening to interesting monologues or indeed online discussions, people who are not bothered and phased about somebody's appearance or their immediate environment, like for instance the gamer's setup or the room or anything else, the location where they work from, like their own mini studio. As many people already would have built very formidable studios, I have to say. If you go to Twitch streams, you'll see that some of them, some of the participants have really absolutely remarkable studios already built literally from scratch, a very short period of time, and such studios and broadcasters are very pleasant to watch because they are operating in a wonderful environment. They provide you with a kind of a pleasant atmosphere, as well as everything else that comes together with the content. But they will be attracting a different type of viewership. They will be having people who kind of enjoy face-to-face contact when they can really see someone, so they know exactly who this person is, what they look like, what they wear, how old they are, what background they're from, and all these kinds of issues. Your eye-to-eye contact with Cam will be significantly different compared to what you do if you're running it as a podcast. It's very similar to what you have if you compare, let's say, BBC News when you watch them on BBC, or indeed when you're listening to BBC radio news. And you will see that the radio news are a lot more focused on in-depth analysis. There's a lot more spoken word there, and you'll experience the news differently. You will not see exactly what's happening. You'll build your own picture within your own mind on what really this person is describing, and indeed how the participants are interacting. It's a very significant difference. I actually like it both ways, but for myself and for the style of presenting that I have here, the former rather than latter is most applicable, and it turned out to be very, very good for me personally, also for my community members and participants, because basically we retain that degree of focus. If you watch many streamers who are using the cam, first of all, they must be very comfortable, with the environment, with their appearance, where they are overall, and being completely unfazed by any comments coming in about their appearance and anything else that other people can see. And also, they'll be integrating the environment and the appearance with their style of presenting and the content. So sometimes something that's seen in their studio will become a major topic of their discussion and may well be leading the community members to develop some other activity within the game. And that's particularly useful if you are a streamer of just one game, like for instance PUBG streamers or Call of Duty streamers. They may have some memorabilia on display, like a statue of a particular character, like a replica of a weapon, maybe some other screenshots and concept art on display, and that really draws people in as well. So there are different styles and different ways, but these are like two basic ways to which you are going to be doing your presentations online, and it's very important that once you feel comfortable with the style of presenting, that you are going to be sticking to it. That's absolutely fundamental, and you need to stretch it over a longer period of time. The reason I run seasons is all to do with the idea that this is a living organism. It's similar to what we have in our local community. No community is the same every single day. It changes, we evolve, we move around, we remain flexible, or indeed we become somewhat resistant to any form of change, which is very, very present in certain communities. People like doing the same thing always, and therefore we always need to be reviewing all of our activities. We need to look at how certain games or activities here have been perceived, whether some of the broadcasts were more popular than others, what actually drew greater number of participants to our discussions, what made people tick. These are the things that we need to be always reviewing, sometimes on everyday basis, but generally I run that on a monthly and quarterly drill schedules, where I look at all that has been happening with that period, and then we really decide on whatever appears to be the best. The reason I'm telling all this today is that I've had some messages, certainly during Christmas, where a number of newer participants here in the community, people who watched our Warzone streams, were delighted with the degree of interactivity, and you'd appreciate that with a four-man team we talk a lot, and everything is very much connected to, well, all of our kind of battles online, but also other issues. We talked a lot about the current status in Britain. We have our international squad mates who were telling us about their own locality, the way they were hit by coronavirus pandemic, the way they were dealing with all these issues that this ghastly illness had indeed triggered in the environment and the local community. So it's been a very, very wonderful, highly interactive type of environment, and there were lots of people. I could certainly say several dozen participants and viewers emailed me asking, well, how long did it take you to build a community? How long does it take to have such a great group of people fully on board and all this? So I thought giving you a bit of description will be indeed of interest to everyone, and that's basically the very basics. If you are considering how to run it, you will need to be choosing a game that perhaps is not the most popular at the moment, but was one of the biggest top-notch blockbusters of its time. And frequently this is going to be the case with the franchise editions. Let's say if you were to be playing at the moment Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you will find that the number of viewers coming to your channel, if you're brand new, may not be very, very great. The reason is simple. It's purely based on numbers. There are many thousands of people who are streaming Valhalla at the moment, and it'd be very difficult for people to find you, to discover you, and indeed for the algorithms to pick up on your stream in order to be given to others. But if you are somebody who loves Assassin's Creed, why not resort to the original Assassin's Creed trilogy? Don't forget that some of the games were remastered. You can actually stream them in Ultra HD, and those games will have a lot of participants. So if you were, for instance, to be looking at the current number of viewers, you will frequently see that the numbers are not particularly great, but the actual consistent incoming traffic, the number of people that pop in at all times, is very great. It's similar to what we have with Destiny. You look at how many viewers are watching Destiny streams, you'll see sometimes 15 or 25 or 50. But if you were to be streaming Destiny for 3 or 4 hours, you will have more than 50 popping in to your channel, because there aren't many streamers to start with, and the game is still very, very popular, loved by so many people out there. In fact, by some of the veterans, Destiny 1 is still the preferred option. So you will get that number of participants coming in, trickling along, and building your own community. And if you provide high quality content, if you're responsive, you keep an eye on everything else that is taking place, then obviously you are going to be entertained, and you will be drawing a lot of attention from those who are interested in the game and your broadcast. So bear with me, I have a moderator messaging me that we are being attacked by a spam bot and we need to take action. So I will be back very shortly. I'll carry on with my descriptions and advice for those new budding young Twitch streamers. So stay with us, I'll be back literally very, very shortly. I apologize for that. I have a firm that moderates my content, and they always alerts me if there are any issues, because you'll appreciate as a broadcaster it's very difficult to keep an eye out on all the incoming messages, and I don't have anymore the on-screen display, which I indeed used for more than a year during my initial 12 months here on Twitch, because I've had some messages of concern coming from some of the community members who thought that the screen was a bit kind of too small, they couldn't really see the picture too well, and there were other technical issues in there, so we are resorting to the external display of chats that are coming in, and I'm using secondary and even another add-on display in here, which is going to be making everything easier for me to conduct as I carry on with my broadcast, because I appreciate my community is substantial, but it's not as massive as some of the bigger streamers, and then if you have too many aimbots and spam type of generating malware hitting us, then obviously I wouldn't be able to conduct any appropriate activity immediately, therefore leave it to my moderators. Coming back to what I said about the streams, so that is the way that you are going to be building your community. So first of all, you'll choose a game that's been, well, part of a franchise. I think that's very important. You'll have several in there. You have Mass Effect, which is very popular, Fallout, Red Dead Redemption, Assassin's Creed, The Division, Ghost Recon, Elder Scrolls. And don't go for the latest one, because, like with Destiny, people migrated to Destiny 2 already when I started my streams in, let me think, what year this was it 2017? 2018, I think it was. And yeah, I think it was 20, let me work out, 20, need to work this out, I apologize for this. So we would have 19, yeah, I think it is, yeah, 2018, and we were looking at yeah, I'm quite certain, sorry about that, just my my mind really went into a different direction as I got some more messages from my moderators. It's really annoying because this is not a Destiny stream, this is like a daily news broadcast, and these people obviously discovered an easy way through which they will be able to sell the products, and I absolutely detest this. It's forbidden on Twitch. It's forbidden to be selling products and subscriptions and all sorts through chat forums, but unfortunately, like in any other area, you always get criminals who want to be taking advantage. Initially they have the upper hand, but then eventually they're completely eradicated. Yeah, so basically you would choose one of these games and you would choose a predecessor. So for instance, Assassin's Creed may be a very, very good example. There are many installments of the game, and if you were to be choosing Valhalla, you're unlikely to have very many people coming in, because it's one of the most popular, most greatly played games of today. Also the new release on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. But if you went back in time, you use maybe some of those from the trilogy, maybe one of the remastered editions, you will be getting a regular stream of veterans popping in. The reason is very simple. There aren't that many people streaming to start with Assassin's Creed of that era, and therefore you will be able to build your community. So that's really my advice. So remember, we'll just summarize this very, very briefly. First of all, you want to have a carefully chosen game on your channel, and once you choose the game, you must stick to it. It must be the main game that you're going to have there at most times. You can even choose maybe two, but for the very beginning I would highly advise just one, because once you had one game on your channel for 6 months, you will be able to throw in maybe a couple of hours of other games as well, but you will have that community there with you, people who actually follow that. It's similar to people who like sci-fi films, or people who like Marvel superheroes or Star Wars, people who are into gangster films or horror or crime films. They will not be interested in musicals and comedies, because that's not really their niche. It doesn't really entertain them too well, and it's the same sort of mindset that people carry if you come to video gaming. The other thing which is important is you need to decide what platform you'll stream on, and still the cross-platform access is developing. It's not really applicable to many games, but that will be the future. But as it stands today, you will need to choose what platform you're on, because don't forget, if you are doing Destiny on PlayStation, you will get many people coming in, and you will not be able to have anybody on PC because Destiny 1 has not been released for PCs. And it's just one of those things to consider in addition to the format. So first of all, you choose the game very carefully. As described, needs to be part of a franchise, not the most popular game of the franchise at the moment, but one of the older editions, which will still have lots of followers. Secondly, you will decide on the format that you want to have here on Twitch. The format, whether you are going to be visible, whether you use your cam, or whether you will be doing it radio style like podcasts. And that's critical, because depending on how you come across, that will define what interest you will be generating. Thirdly, once you've decided on all of that, try to make sure you have the best possible internet connection, preferably fiber, in order to prevent any form of lag, and also to ensure the best quality picture and sound. And then you have to crack on. Then you have to also start building your presence on various social networking forums. So you will never ever be able to generate a lot of members and viewers just if you're attached to one single entity. So if you're on Twitch, you will need to have your own Twitter profile, as well as the one on Instagram and YouTube, and also on Facebook. You can integrate all of these in a way which I've done here, and you'll see that every one of those is dedicated to a different form of communication. So for myself, Twitter is all about the news coming from the industry, the news coming from the developers, as well as from my community members, people who follow me, or people who made contact, and people who I quite like. They will be posting their stuff, and I'll be obviously retweeting and reposting some of theirs. So it's a combination of the industry news, what's hot in the industry, what's happening with games overall, what games we will be expecting the next quarter, etc., as well as reviews. Then you also have your community-based content, their own internal reviews. You're promoting the other gamers, which is extremely important. I think I would also advise everyone to maybe attach to one or two streamers who are a bit more experienced, and therefore in better position to provide you with some tips on what you can do, because you never ever want to be copying the concept that the other person is having. You want to be always original, but you can pick up on some of the ideas and then develop them in your own original direction. So that's very important to keep in mind. So you need to then build a presence on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and each one of those will cater for a separate type of communication. So for myself, Twitter is all about industry and the news. Facebook is more like an encyclopedia. It's giving you detailed information on particular games that I either play or love, or the games that are currently in the arena. Most importantly, the Facebook I use for the games that I've really played over many years, and I provide some information on how the game was created and what the reception was, and all the ins and outs, of kind of Wikipedia style type of info that you get on those postings. So it's not about interactivity as much as providing information to others to engage and then comment, and then come in directly on live stream to reflect on whatever they read. And then we have Instagram. Instagram is basically like a meeting place of people who want to be sharing concept art, people who are checking out when a certain stream is going to be on. So it's a combination of live broadcast announcements with concept art, and those two are kind of blending together. So you will get always announcements, and the announcements will come together with concept art, which is actually I think a very good merger. Also use Instagram for direct communication with some of the community participants. And then you can also be using Discord. Discord is at the moment the most popular form of communication for any form of chat, and sharing various screenshots, information, gathering squads, information that is necessary prior to your streams. It's an ideal way of connecting with your participants. Discord will be excellent for those who are live online participants, people who are basically members of your regiment, your squads, your clans, and you'll be able to coordinate all the efforts, agree on times when they can come in, and plan accordingly, share internal squad information, provide each other with some great clips and screenshots. And it's a great way of bringing the community together. You can also bring in others if you want. You can make some of it public, but I think the way I see it, it is an add-on tool for anyone who is an active participant in PvP activity in particular, and also somebody who is an avid Twitch streamer. So it's a very, very good way of bringing people together, making them communicate, and making sure that they know exactly what you're doing, because quite frankly, running a regular schedule sometimes is very difficult for some people, and you'll basically connect through Discord. So remember, all of these things are said are part and parcel of what you need to be doing in order to have a successful Twitch broadcasting channel. It is an arduous activity. It does take a long time to build a community, and it will be down to you. It will be down to your skills, down to your style of presentation, down to the quality of the content, down to the way you are going to be interacting with the community. Don't forget, this is not about solo gaming. It's all about talking, about connecting, about speaking to others. And by that, I don't mean just speaking to one person who is kind of typing in the chat, but actually bringing people together to get to know others. So have half dozen participants or a dozen participants. You want them to talk to each other in addition to just talking to yourself. And we've had a wonderful experience here with our Destiny veterans, who were indeed, upon the ending of my broadcast, just carrying on with the games. And they had a squad of 3, did other strikes here in Destiny, or with Warzone, as we've seen with our regiment, and everyone else, they just carry on with matches, and obviously they'll have the best possible way in, with the broadcast being watched by others, and new people coming in sometimes through random matchmaking, and then their own communities also being built. So these are the tips. This is the way to do it, and I think generally we can certainly say that you will need to invest a lot of time and effort into this. Always approach it as an activity which isn't just your pastime, but an activity where you want to excel. So you must be as professional as possible. Make sure that you are coming across as such as well, because there are some incredible presenters out there, people who have not gone to any training but actually trained themselves, and they've done all of that together with the community. So this is a fantastic opportunity for people who want to be working in visual arts, or those who are interested in medias, because if you were running your podcasts or Twitch streams for a period of time, you will polish up your language, your skills, the way you come across. You'll feel a lot more confident, and most importantly, you will be supported by a community, and that is just priceless. I talked a lot during the year about my community here, and I've been living in almost complete social isolation and quarantine for almost 12 months now, and I've not felt alone for a split second any moment of the day, any day during the year. We've been so busy, we had so many new friends coming in, new communities built, and it's been a truly wonderful and truly rewarding experience. So if you're considering what to do, well, this is certainly a very, very good way forward, a very good activity, and I would most highly recommend people who are kind of plodding over the idea whether or not to be doing some streams on Twitch and YouTube, indeed to follow some of the directions I've given and build their own channels. And also, if you're interested, if you liked what you've seen and heard, you can also ping me a message indicating whether there is anything else you want to work on, whether you found some of the tips of interest, and that's basically what I would really like to hear from everyone. Your feedback, if you picked up on some of my ideas and skills, and if you decided to run your own channel, and then obviously if you had any contingencies, any kind of technical questions, make sure you private message me, because obviously this information will be confidential, and then I'll be very, very glad to help everyone who actually is in need of that degree of guidance. So that's all in response to the messages I've had during my Christmas break. And there were 2 lots of messages. One lot of messages was coming in, and people asking what's the best way to become a streamer. We've seen your community of Warzone growing rapidly. How did you do that? And that sort of thing. So I think what I described today was very much kind of connected and concerned with how one can be actually starting their own community on Twitch or YouTube, building them literally from scratch. So I think that's the bottom line. The other questions were about the content here, and people said we've seen that you had in addition to Destiny, streamlined Warzone quite a bit, and also that you've had PUBG and Apex and some other PvP games in the division as well. What are you planning for the next year, right? So Thank you very kindly for those questions, and thank you also for watching my stream on playback. I was very pleased to see that a lot of people watched it on playback, and usually people are traveling, they'll have a look at the live stream for 10-15 minutes, then come back and watch it later. And I forgot to mention earlier in my tips, everyone who's streaming, you need to archive your streams. So archiving streams is going to be useful in all sorts of ways. I mean, first of all, you can examine what you're doing. So you can basically see if something is very positively received, and you can review it and learn from your own activity. Secondly, if you're doing something wrong, or if something is seen as very unpopular, yet again, you can revisit and find a different direction. So it's a very, very good self-evaluation tool. Don't do it like some people who just stream live and forget all about it, because it's a waste then. It is obviously an activity that is treasured by many participants, and people who want to take clips, they want to take part, they want to take away some treasured memories with them. And I can certainly tell you that with our Warzone matches, we've had quite a few people making clips and loving some of the activity, be it for the victories and the things we've done right, or indeed for many things we've done wrong, and particularly sometimes when we got killed in a funny fashion. And I know that one of our fire team members was absolutely delighted when he used that massive big rocket launcher called Joker on a vehicle, and the vehicle was full of people. He eliminated the full squad, and for him this was like a true delight. He took a note of this, and what better way to memorize that but just go back to the playback and cut out that clip, and you've got it all there. Even better if you're recording it yourself, on your console or a PC. But I forgot to mention earlier, so archiving your streams is, I would say, fundamental, and you really need to do that immediately after you've finished your stream. You go to your Twitch video producer section, you choose export, and you export it to your YouTube channel. It will stay there forever. If you're an affiliate or partner, your Twitch streams will stay on Twitch for up to 90 days. But if you upload this on YouTube, under the present content creator guidelines, they will stay there indefinitely. I think in due course YouTube will be charging for this, particularly if, like myself, you're archiving everything, and I already have more than, I think, several thousand really archive streams in there. But it's just because sometimes I have very short streams. I'll have maybe 3 or 4 in a day, and hence the number. But it's very, very important for you to be able to reevaluate your work, and I think that really is the very best thing to do. On the other hand, if there are streams that went wrong, or there were things said in there which you would consider to be questionable in terms of your content, you absolutely must make sure that you delete them immediately. You delete them immediately without any thinking, because both Twitch and YouTube have absolutely draconian rules, and if somebody wants to spot the content which is outside of the terms and conditions, you can actually lose the whole channel and everything else you worked on for years. So it's extremely important, I forgot to mention this earlier as well, to adhere to the terms and conditions and the rules, so you wouldn't have, not just yourself personally, but any of the participants doing something that could be interfering with the quality content. And don't forget, if you leave it on playback, somebody else might watch it. You even forgot about it. You thought it was nothing, and they can report you, and if reported, it could be spotted, and therefore the consequences could be draconian. I have heard from some streamers that they had this problem, and all of it was down to, I guess, lack of attention. They were like under the weather with the quantity of works on the channel, and they just missed out on certain things that somebody else said. So they didn't think it was their own fault because they didn't say anything. But actually, if you are the owner of a channel, then you got responsibility. It's a bit like running a television show. Somebody starts swearing, it's your responsibility to basically pull the plug immediately, so nobody else can hear any more of those swear words if it's live on air. And you've seen that on Sky News and the big channels where people are interviewing somebody walking up and down on the street, and you get some other unsavory character popping in and saying something rude. You can't actually avoid that, but you can make sure that this person is immediately eradicated from the any form of platform, for their defamatory content. And this is what needs to be adhered to on Twitch and YouTube as well. It's very important. Try to think of a heartbreak if somebody spends several years building the channel and having like many hundreds of broadcasts archived, and then something like that would happen. Yet again, I'm coming back to another thing which I forgot to mention. So I'm talking aloud, so you have to bear with me, but there are lots of issues to keep in mind if you are at an advanced stage. The issue of the content, subscribing to terms and conditions at all times, is fundamental. So as a user, basically once you're opening up your channel, you're subscribing to those rules, and you really need to read the small print. You really need to know what it is, because from time to time the rules will be altered. You need to be absolutely knowledgeable on what the rules are, because they will be enforced. It's your contract with the provider. It's like, for instance, if you were to be using your internet for illegal uploads, or you pirating basically, then your ISP will detect this and they will ban you for life from the use of those services provided by them. You could also go to prison because obviously you're uploading something which is illegal. So you have a contract. In that contract, which you basically need to read when you're taking up a particular device from your operator, and you'll have contractual obligations. You need to read small print to see what you need to be doing. You need to be abiding by the rules. So that's important. And then the other very important thing, and I got to say this might be very serious in very short period of time, is the copyright, the licensing laws. I don't know whether you know, but the US government has been pursuing this law which is going to be prohibiting the use of copyrighted content anywhere unless the permission was given. So for instance, you will have streamers doing a game like Destiny or The Division, and in the background they will have other music played, right? So sometimes the algorithm of Twitch will detect the music which is played in the background, and therefore it will mute everything. So on a playback there will be no music heard, right? So there'll be no playback with not just music. You hear nothing. The whole thing is muted, which in fact is draconian, because this person's speaking like myself now, and then suddenly everything is muted, so all of the hard work is wasted. The reason for that is the music playing in the background. If you don't have the authority to play the music, if that music's not part of the licensed product, like for instance Destiny, the music which you can hear in Destiny is licensed, which means we are fully protected. As we are streaming the product that's got the license, then that's fine, we can do whatever we like. But if I was to be playing Taylor Swift on top of this right now, then I'll be muted. To simplify, if you're lucky, the algorithm will detect this, right? If you're not lucky, the sound will remain on those playbacks, and YouTube will ban you for life. So the new law, which is presently discussed by I think the American Senate, is about the enforcement, and it's very unclear what position they will take. But as it stands today, even before the new law, you've got to be very aware of what content is actually fully copyrighted, what you've got the right to be distributing and promoting and broadcasting live online. To simplify, if you're streaming a game and you're streaming the content which is exclusively within that game, you'll have no problems whatsoever, right? So for anyone who is a streamer on PlayStation or Xbox, there will be no issues, because we don't have any other add-on software that will provide us with those facilities, the facilities that will give us extra ads and all the other kinds of things. You do that on your PC, but therefore you're a lot more vulnerable. And so if you're a PC streamer, you have got to keep this in mind. So there's three things that you really have to keep in mind. All I said earlier about the process of setting up your channel and basically the way you're going to build your community in order for everything to run smoothly. But then you've got the other two issues. One is Twitch or YouTube terms and conditions, what you can and what you cannot be broadcasting. So remember to go to the section that tells you what audiences are you going to be broadcasting to, right? So remember that. You go to that, you need to decide, are you going to be broadcasting to kind of parental guidance or all family friendly, or will you be doing it for the mature? So if you're doing it for the mature, which means 18 plus, you're not to allow anybody who's younger than 18 to come on your channel. So you have to remember that. It's a federal offense in the US to have something like that live on air, right? And particularly so if you're looking at children younger than 13. So you've got to take that direction. Obviously, if you are going to be streaming Pokemon or the games which are seen as, children friendly, you can stream the game, but literally, if you're looking at the law, nobody participating on your channel should be younger than 13 in any circumstances. So these are the laws and the rules you need to be considering if you want to be running your Twitch or YouTube streaming channel successfully in the long run without any major difficulties. And I think these are the tips and the views which I'm giving you in view of the messages and all the other questions that were given to me during the Christmas break. So first of all, yet again, I want to thank everybody who was here today, and thank to everyone providing us with feedback. Really appreciating your thoughts, views, and the time you've taken to communicate. And as I said, I'd be more than glad to offer more assistance and advice on those issues if there is a need. So just ping me a message on any of the forums. The best thing to do is just to send me messages through Twitter or through Twitch here, or maybe private messages, DMs, and I'll respond accordingly. There are many different ins and outs if you're already looking at the advanced stage of gaming and streaming, but these are the basics. These are the issues that everybody needs to adhere to, and always try to really speak from heart, speak from experience. All I learned here was literally by doing it, and I think I have a substantial experience of broadcasting by now, really, on all levels here on Twitch, and I'll be able to help many people who are indeed in the need of any form of assistance. The other questions we had was about the direction that the channel's taking, and actually I started talking about this already, but digress back to the rules there. The channel was originally streaming Destiny, and we had Destiny as the main game here, literally from the beginning. The game is going to remain here for... apologize. Once again, Destiny has been the main game in here. It will continue to be so for many months and years ahead, and we really had to kind of rework the concept, because initially I built a community of Destiny veterans, and as a variety gamer and streamer I also liked introducing some other games. So we then started with branching out, and we had quite a selection of different games here. During the second year we had Apex, we had Anthem, we had PUBG, we had Warzone and Call of Duty. We actually streamed all the alphas and betas of AAA blockbusters that we offered, and some of them are really enjoyable, particularly those of Modern Warfare, Anthem, and The Division, and Ghost Recon, I need to say. And we really kind of looked at different ways to which, well, first of all, we could connect with our community better, and then secondly, I also looked at the time spent here, because if you're a streamer and if you spend 5 hours a day doing a particular stream, there will be no time to engage with any other game elsewhere. So that's been really a bit mind-boggling for me, and I have been racking my brains for quite some time looking at the alternative ways to which I can combine the two, which is on one hand the connectivity with my community and the needs of the community, because you would have seen anytime you've gone to Warzone, we already had at least half dozen people waiting to join in immediately, right? So that was immediate. As soon as I began my broadcast, everybody was more than ready to step in and crack on with some battles, which I couldn't provide. I had my introduction to do and various other things, and that's something else that popped up during the recent months that it wasn't really of concern previously. So I had to take some considerations and some decisions in order to decide on what to do next. So initially I introduced, during the second year, separate streams So we've had Apex on particular days, and particularly, actually specifically during the promotional weeks. So we had like 3 weeks of Apex, literally non-stop. Then we had Call of Duty Warzone as well during its first 3 weeks, and these were like really, really successful streams. On the other hand, we had people from Destiny community saying, well, what's happened to Destiny? Why are you not there today? And it's been a struggle throughout the year. And then literally during the summer, I tried streaming some RPGs and some games which are completely non-PvP, in order to first of all catch up on some of the games that I really want to play, but there was no time for them, and that turned out to be also equally good. So really, in view of all that's been experienced in the second year, I came up with a new concept. Right, the new concept is quite simple. We'll have a daily stream which is going to be split into several smaller entities. So every day we'll start with a daily news broadcast or daily update, a daily bulletin, The bulletin will be dedicated to a variety of different issues. Most of the times it'll be connected to the two. Number one is industry news. What's happening out there? What are the new games that we are very excited about? What's coming our way? What are the release dates? What are the special offers? That sort of thing. Sometimes also reviews and charts and various other things, but basically industry-based information coming to my desk every single day. And then most importantly, number two is going to be the news coming from our community, right? Because we have two communities in there. One which is based on the industry activity, so that's the overall industry inclusive of publishers and developers. Then we have our own community that is very hectic, very active, also having its own demands, needs and requests, and we'll spend quite some time looking at these as well. So that is going to be in a separate section. At the beginning, I was running my separate news bulletin, and there were some issues with the tech side of things, and I quite preferred keeping it separate from the kind of in-game activities for obvious reasons, because when people are queuing up in the lobby, they can get very impatient if the introduction is 60 minutes long. And so I decided to go back to the old format. We'll have one section dedicated to the news. So that's the daily news bulletin, comprising the industry with the community and anything else happening. Most of the times I'll be responding to emails and questions coming from our friends and viewers. Sometimes we'll be reflecting on our community-based activities, and so on. We'll basically play it by ear. So that will start out the day, right? Every single day, that's going to be the first thing. Number two, which is going to be new, is introducing new games. Okay, so introducing new games will be partly based on the industry news and the trickle that's coming from various developers. I have access to some brand new demos, for instance, or interesting alphas and betas of indie games, and therefore we are going to be introducing this early. So these are going to be shorter streams. The purpose of that stream is not to be basically completing the game, but it's more to do with us experiencing the game, the way it comes across, its flavor, its playability, and particularly important for multiplayers to find out what we can do with our friends and community members. And then we'll have maybe sometimes a degree of continuity if we are talking about demos, or we will just leaving it at that, basically having a full introduction on a particular game. So that is going to be a substantial introduction to what we have here. I don't know what's happening in my throat. I really have to have some drinks and come back very shortly. I'll carry on with my introduction and the rest of the news. I really do apologize. My voice was absolutely perfect early on, but for whatever reason it's going to be croaky, so I need to sort it out, and I'll be back literally very shortly. We carry on with all the news and everything else that is to follow. My dear friends, I'm back and I thank you for your patience. Suddenly my throat went and I obviously had to warm it up somewhat. Yes, I was describing the new concept. We start out first of all with the news, daily bulletin of all that is happening in industry, comprised together with our community-based news, and that is the news related to our gaming sessions, to our squads, to our regiments and to our clans, and maybe some other news coming in from the random viewers who are asking certain questions, like those that I was answering earlier today, based on the requests from, well, quite a variety of viewers asking about how to build their own community. I'll come back to that later as well with a few more points. The second thing I was describing is the new concept, starting up with the news and then progressing towards the new games. So it'll be DRBMiller introducing, right? DRBMiller introducing, and that will be, as I said, giving us the opportunity to engage with some of the newbies, some of the games that will be coming out shortly on demos and on alphas and betas. On the other hand, we'll be also looking at the games that have been recently included on Game Pass and PlayStation Now services. Those games are very exciting and many of those have no marketing budget. I personally want to be supporting the indie developers and Microsoft as well as Sony for promoting them through their streaming hubs, and I feel that they require a lot more attention. So for all of our community members here attached to Destiny, Warzone, Apex and PUBG, this will be an opportunity for you to see for a little while, for about an hour a day, something that is attached to a very new, very interesting, quirky indie game, or a game that's not been that well known or made well known by some of the online hubs, and therefore we'll have this opportunity. I have quite a list of those, and sometimes we'll throw in like a DRBMiller old like gold. It'd be the games that already have been around for a little while but have been somewhat brushed aside. I wouldn't say forgotten, but not played as much recently, and we'll have some of our old favorites, golden oldies, so to speak. So that section will comprise the two. You'll be newbies and the overall introduction of alphas, betas and demos, together with some of the golden oldies. I'll have to see exactly on what days we'll be running golden oldies. It may be dependent whether it's a weekend or during the week, but we'll see how it goes. Also, the activity will be very much based on your feedback, and I will be running a weekly poll with quite a selection of games for people to vote on to indicate whether you are quite interested in watching them basically and participating. And we'll probably run a schedule that is a bit more clearly defined a week ahead. I need to plan, and I've seen that some streamers have really meticulous planning. I generally thought that the free-flowing content here on my channel was more beneficial during the first couple of years, but I think as we are progressing, it may be necessary to run a regular, lengthier kind of planning schedule for people to know exactly what's going to be streamed at what time. And I think that certainly will be very needed if we are looking at the streams of various games during a week, right? So we'll be looking at, let's say, well, I'll give you a few examples off the top of my head. If we were streaming Golden Oldie Fallout, then the following day we'll do something which is brand new, a demo, and then we'll be looking on, let's say, Wednesday, what will be happening, what are the new inclusions on Game Pass. Thursday will be dedicated to PlayStation Now. So you get the idea. It's quite a variety, and it will give me also a perfect opportunity to try out different games and those which I believe are of interest to me, and share that with everybody else. The third section is the one which is going to be, as always, the most popular. So as we said, the first section is going to be the daily bulletin and the daily news. The second section is going to be the DRBMiller channel introducing, or golden oldies, and the third lot is going to be the usual, which is our online gaming activity with our big games, Warzone and Destiny to start with, and then sometimes we may be promoting other big games that are coming out, like for instance Cyberpunk or any other, and we'll probably try to squeeze in some space for them too. But I need to state that clearly, Warzone and Destiny are to be the main games for the time being here. So the largest section of my daily broadcast will be dedicated to one or the other. I'm not going to be able to stream Destiny and Warzone on the same day, and I'll tell you why. I tried that, and I have experimented with the plan, and I found that to be not particularly good for myself as a gamer. These are very different games, and switching from one universe of Destiny to the one of Verdansk in Warzone I found to be very, very difficult for myself. The mindset is different, the planning is different, the activity is different, and you really need to be focusing on what is required for that particular game. So therefore we'll run those games on consecutive days. Some weeks we'll have 4 Warzones, maybe 5 Warzones. Other weeks we'll have 3 or 4 Destinies. It will depend also on the new content coming in. So if we have new seasonal content with Destiny, we'll be looking at Destiny a bit more. But the main game is going to be only just one, and that generally will take up to 3 to 4 hours of my broadcasting time during every single day. So just to clarify, some people are a bit worried that, you know, Destiny will disappear, Warzone will not be here any longer. No, that's not going to be the case. It's just going to be presented in a orderly, a bit more structured fashion, and that is in order to accommodate, first of all, the interest coming in, and then secondly, for myself to be able to retain, you know, the accuracy, the mindset which is applicable for those activities, because I always talk about gaming in the zone, right? It's a bit like working in the zone, and in the zone is a relatively short period of time during every single day where we are operating at the best of our abilities, right? So the idea that you need to be working like in any capacity from 8 in the morning to 10 at night is wrong, okay? You're not going to be able to work effectively literally if you are doing that every single day. I know that when you're running a small business there is a need for this, but at the end of the day, in the zone will be probably between 5 to 6 hours, right, which is exclusive of breaks. And certainly for this sort of activity, I can certainly say that after 4 hours I'm already kind of needing a recharge of my batteries. 5 is just about, and anything which is lengthier than 5 is just pushing it. That's the reason as to why you see the vast majority of the big streamers doing the streams within 4 to 5 hours, because they know they're in the zone and they'll find the best time of the day where they will be streaming. You know, some people prefer nights. Somebody will start the broadcast 7 at night, end at 1 in the morning. Somebody will start at 9 at night and end up at 3 in the morning. Some people do it during the day. In fact, I tested that initially, and I found that anything which is after 8 o'clock PM for me is a non-starter. So it's just absolute no-no. It's just not for me. And my preferred time is during the day, earlier the better. But I think considering that we have lots of members in here from various time zones, I've also got to very seriously take into account that somebody who is in the US may not be able to participate at all if, for instance, I'm to be streaming from 10 to 3. That is 10 to 3 UK time, and that's because of the time zone difference. You know, 9 hours back, that will be from, let's say, 1 in the morning to about 10 in the morning US time. And we did have, I mean, I'm very grateful to our friends from Texas and from Wyoming and from Nevada who were popping in literally at 4 o'clock in the morning their time in order to join our squads. I mean, I found that to be unbelievable. It's phenomenal degree of dedication to our community, but they really kind of loved it. And we had Jerry sometimes joining us literally 5 in the morning, and he would be with us for about 90 minutes before heading off to his work. He worked from home, which was just, you know, basically at the farm and very nearby, and he would be always there with us every single day between 5 and 6:30. And you know, I just think that I want to present my streams at a time where everybody, you know, can access them, so it's neither too early or too late. So that probably is likely to be between 12 and 6 or maybe 1 and 7 during the week. And that will be accommodating, I think, for the majority of the time zones. People coming in maybe later in the day, around 4 or 5 o'clock, will be within that bracket of 8 to 10 in the US. And I think some people who are coming in around 1 or 2 in the afternoon UK time, will be in the bracket of 11 to midnight in Australia and New Zealand. So it seems to be like a really good time. And also, you know what, I really find that my best period of the day when I'm really in the zone is I'd say probably between 11 p.m. to about 7 or 8 p.m. right? So I'm not really an early riser, and I'm not a person who can be operating too well in normal circumstances if I was to be running, broadcasting or anything that requires this degree of kind of involvement very early in the day. 10 o'clock is fine, but still I find myself perking up around 11, so considering that there's a lot of talking in here, and specifically if we have participants with Warzone and PvP matches, and don't forget there will be sometimes matches with more people than 2 or 3, and it does require a lot of energy, a lot of attention, as well as monitoring with text messages coming in and everything. Right, so coming back to the concept, just to summarize, obviously I told you quite a lot about it. It will be a lengthier broadcast which is split into several sections. So every day we'll have daily bulletin of news delivered early. So we'll start with the daily bulletin. The bulletin may last anything between 30 to 90 minutes. It depends on quantity of interactions that we are going to be getting. I think I'll try to really tie down to about 60 minutes on average, but that will depend on all that comes our way, because don't forget, Bulletin of News could be also a very useful community open forum, and we can certainly run it as such at the moment, up to a point where our community is exponentially grown and turns out to be massive, and therefore we have a completely separate forum for chit chats. And the second stage, the second section, is going to be, as I said, DRBMiller introducing, so that will be the newbies and alphas and betas, and then we'll have also our main gaming session, which is DRBMiller Gaming Dialogue sessions here with Warzone and Destiny, sometimes some other games, but Warzone and Destiny are presently creating this major backbone, the foundation stone of this channel. We have many people coming in as vets and regular community members, and we absolutely want to keep it this way. And also, if you are participating in those two games, I've had some questions, what's the idea behind two which are so different? Well, that's exactly what it is, because both games are very much based on anything to do with group activity, group participation, many people coming in and joining forces to deliver, the joint task, which is winning matches or completing quests for pinnacle weapons in Destiny, etc. Destiny is more of a family-friendly game overall, and I was just listening to our friend Jeff from Xbox yesterday, who said he literally sat down with his kids in December, having the whole Christmas period ahead, and he said, now, right, we're going to be doing Destiny 2 this is, and we'll do all these different tasks, and they were hooked. So they spent literally 3 or 4 weeks playing together Destiny, and you will know from the characters, the way they come across, they're very, very family friendly, and this is a perfect kind of a sci-fi shooter, particularly on the campaign side of things, the story-based missions, patrols and everything else. I think if you're doing PvP, this is more of an adult activity, and generally I don't really like, well, from a personal point of view, the PvP of the Crucible in Destiny, be it in the original or the sequel, because they're very, very tight maps and death matches, and I'm not really a great fan of death matches. I have to say, death matches I played quite well on mobile phone, and I played Call of Duty Mobile quite a bit recently since I got my Sony Xperia. It comes together with a phone. The game is proprietary to Sony, so you have really a massive advantage if you are on this phone with unbelievably fast processor. But I kind of enjoy death matches in there, and they're very short, and that makes a big difference as well. So and also like beautifully designed, you get all kinds of pop-ups and graphics, and they have also a very, very advanced system through which you instantly can be taking clips and screenshots and posting them, which I think is the best I've ever seen anywhere. and that's also very enjoyable for anyone who runs down communities. So coming back to Destiny, the PvP section is more for the adults, and everything else is for children and for everyone else, and it's definitely very, very enjoyable. So if you are to be engaging with Destiny World, this is going to be for all ages, for people from anywhere around the planet, and you always have a lot of entertainment and fun. Excellent for building a very, very diverse community, and as you know, just an extension of Halo community from the noughties. So you're talking about 20 years of gaming for some people, and it's really truly remarkable. So that's the idea behind the community effort as to why Destiny is here. And then Warzone is a PvP game which is 18 plus. It's for adults, it's not for children. I need to stress this because I've had children popping in there through random matchmaking. This is not for children, and it's a game that really does require adult thinking and tactics and strategies. So you'll have a different group of people coming in with a different mindset, with a different type of approach on what to do in order to win a game. It is very close to the kind of real life military simulation in terms of what weapons you use, how you behave, and everything else. So it's a completely different kettle of fish. But at the same time, it is a game that requires maximum group effort, and you really need people to come in and participate as much as possible as a group, as a team, right? And what's brilliant about games like Apex and PUBG and Warzone is if you have, let's say, one or two squad mates, your buddies who will be there with you every single day, you can also basically select other two from random matchmaking. And if you do this extensively, from random matchmaking, you will come across some absolutely terrific both people and gamers and vets and people who are absolutely dedicated to team effort, and you can bring them into your own clan. You can bring them into your channel. If you're a streamer, you can bring them to become members of your community, and this is how you will be growing. This is how you will be building the membership and participation. Literally, I think Warzone is one of the very best games for that, and I have to say, my experience of Warzone has been much superior to all the other online experiences of Call of Duty franchise altogether, and there are many reasons as to why that is. First of all, it's offered free of charge. Secondly, it is a map that requires a very big map that requires a lot of skill compared to some of the other ones where it was more like a deathmatch based on adrenaline, and I think it is just raising the bar, for everyone. And compared to other tactical shooters, like for instance Ghost Recon or PUBG, depending on which one you prefer, The Division, I think Warzone is by far the best in the arena battle royale because it has phenomenal graphics. It's got very, very good frame rate, so it's really not very hard on your eyes, on your brain, if you play it extensively. Secondly, in this massive big map, you can be literally strategizing in all sorts of ways, and your survival rate could be anything from 2 or 3 minutes to maybe half an hour, and even longer. We've had some matches lasting 45 minutes or so, depending on the map, depending on the circle, depending on all sorts. And altogether, a very, very enjoyable community-based game that will be definitely growing. It's definitely here to stay, and I really look forward to all that is to follow, really, coming from Infinity Ward, Treyarch Studios, and from everyone else involved, really, with Call of Duty and Activision. To summarize, we have two games in here, one for the widest possible type of audiences, the other which is rated mature, but the content provided is exclusively to be always family friendly. So although we are actually doing Warzone, we're playing the adult 18 plus game, the way we talk is family friendly. So that is also something that I find very important here on the channel, and generally for people who are streaming. Make sure that you're not providing a content which is restricting your audience. You want to be always as friendly and as amicable towards anyone who comes in, but people coming in need to be respectful. They need to be abiding by the rules which you have in your channel. They need to be communicative. They need to all talk and generally be polite and friendly, which is very, very important. We all want to be running our communities in a way which is giving us a sense of achievement. So we find that our world here online is a good place to be, and we also want to do with our activities anything possible to make the world out there a better place to be. So very important to keep in mind as well. So this is the summary of all this. This is the summary of the plans for the channel and all that we'll be doing. Today is a major introduction. I know I talked quite a lot, and I didn't really give you any other news. We'll just have a look at what's coming on Twitter. I have to say the news have not been very extensive during the last few days, and it's obvious really as to why. It's New Year and people are still relaxing and resting. I think we'll get a bit more hectic towards the end of this week. I have a list of games that I've singled out here for my DRBMiller introducing, which is our brand new section here on the broadcast. It is going to be fully integrated, and we'll have it on a regular basis, which means every single day we'll have something introduced. Sometimes the same game or demo will be followed up by another broadcast on the following day, but we'll be looking at a variety and a diversity, very similar to what they have on some of the Xbox broadcasts, because I really enjoyed and liked the idea that any time that Jeff and Major Nelson get together, Larry, in fact, I was going to say Larry and Jeff get together, they always talk about the current games. You know, what have they played last? What other things they looked at? What's interesting out there? And they are both guys are really snowed under with the number of titles, and they promote Xbox games primarily, but on the other hand, they also try other games on various platforms like PC and PlayStation, and the discussions are just really amazing. They always provide me with something of interest, and it isn't just the title, it's the way they talk about their in-gaming activity, all they've done. It's just the best possible. Honestly, I can't think of a better podcast or better type of presentation to what Jeff and Larry do every single week. So I most highly recommend everyone to watch their video sessions and podcasts online. I thoroughly enjoy them, and I listen to them every single week. They're truly inspirational, and I really want to do something quite similar in here, and we'll probably have some other participants in addition to me in due course. You know, people who are trying out different games and quirkily exploring the mysteries of Oxenfree, or all the other interesting additions to Game Pass. And we want to really kind of draw attention to the games that are outside the realm of AAA blockbuster, similar to what you have in film industry. Everybody talks about Marvel superheroes or Star Wars, but when it comes to some other interesting films that are also sci-fi but don't really fall within the same category, like for instance Cloud Atlas of Wachowski brothers, it received no marketing budget. It absolutely bombed. Jupiter Ascending, another film they produced, the guys also made Matrix. They did have some marketing budget, but the film absolutely went down the drain really at the box office. And it is that sort of thing. I really feel we need to give more attention to people who work so hard in order to progress forward. Just worthy of note, the success in video gaming doesn't happen immediately, and we heard recently, particularly during the Game Awards ceremony, that a wonderful multiplayer called Among Us is the game that just ascended from strength to strength over the last couple of years, and they won literally about 3 or 4 awards for the best of, and it was ranked the best multiplayer, although the game's not really that well known. Not many people heard of Among Us, and it's cross-platform, which obviously helps it. And these are the games that we want to be kind of presenting and introducing. We want people to get a degree of publicity, and certainly the industry bosses like Phil Spencer, for instance, or the leaders of BioWare and Casey Hudson and of Bethesda, they all said the future of promotion won't be anymore in newspaper or internet advertising. It will be through the streamers. And for the video games, having a major takeoff, like for instance what Apex had, is a wonder. And it's just the way through which people can really jump on the bandwagon of promotions, and then indeed provide that degree of exposure for a game that otherwise perhaps would have not had the same degree of interest triggered amongst the viewers. And Apex is probably the best example. They had a phenomenal run within the first few weeks, and I've got to say, for a game that had no marketing budget, and for like a game without any form of previous announcements within the industry. It was completely unknown. No one's ever heard of the game, and within 3 days you were talking hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide, and people, jumping on board and playing with that. And the game didn't even perform too well on the tech side of things. The hit ratio was poor, it was lagging, it was crashing. It didn't matter. It was the concept. It's just taken the world by storm, and that is exactly the way we want it to be. This is the way we want to be introducing perhaps the games that are not coming from EA, but you will see. I think for myself I have maybe 50 or 60 of those already downloaded on my Xbox, and I've still not been able to get through them all. Also, I've been keeping an eye on really good special offers on indie games, and again, I purchased quite a selection. Sold for £1.50, £2.20. It's costing me less than a cup of coffee, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful way through which you can collect and accrue games, build your collection. But don't keep those games in the vault. Don't do them all by yourself. That's the most important thing to remember. Video gaming of today is a joint group activity. It is not about doing it all by yourself. You want to do it in a public forum. You want to be doing it with others. Whether you do it on Twitch, through Facebook gaming, through any other platform like YouTube, it's down to yourself. But make it public and do it together with others, and do it with passion, because that is what the value of this new form of communication really is. It is about connectivity and interactivity through something that you actually adore and you love doing. You adore a particular game like Destiny, you love playing certain missions or certain activities like Crucible or Gambit, and you get in there and you bring those people in and you do it together with them. Twitch channels, I have to say, at the moment are still by far the best. I think YouTube and Facebook gaming will have they'll have to put a lot of time and effort to catch up with all that Twitch is offering. I guess the reason is quite simple. Twitch has been around the longest within the field of streaming, and they invested quite a bit in enhancing all the services that they have. There's still perhaps they still have a need for some special human resources to be brought in, for certain sections, like monitoring the content and making sure that the chat forums are as good as they should be. But I think, considering the tech side of things and the number of people that are using Twitch, it's by far the very best, and it's really helping the process of both illumination as well as the ascendancy of the entire video gaming industry on the global scale, because you are getting fewer negative comments in the press about it, considering that the games of the games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us 2 basically generated more than I think it was between $750 and $1.2 billion within one weekend on its during the first release, during the first few release dates and days. I mean, what can I say? I talk quite a lot, and I should take breaks every 90 minutes, and I didn't do that. So you could see that my mind's not really operating as well as it should after 99 minutes, but there you go. Anyway, coming back to it, Red Dead 2, the sequel, as well as The Last of Us, they gave us this confirmation that video game industry is a very serious business, and it's a very serious activity. It is an activity where we have so many people participating on everyday basis, and quite frankly, there isn't anything else that can reckon with it. And I think it's being taken very seriously. The medias and the press are no longer as negative or as apprehensive, and I'm quite certain it will develop into a variety of interactive and, most importantly, educational tools. It will really take up a major step into that direction, you will see, because we already have seen with games like Valhalla, Assassin's Creed that is, and Odyssey, that the capacity for education within these games, as they're obviously dealing with a particular part of human history, is incredibly large. And in Greece they had used that special DLC in order to teach their own children in schools on the country's history. And I think that's one of the opportunities that will be rising and merging those two fields together, the field of video gaming and the field of education. So mark my words, I'm quite certain we'll have many more opportunities arising in there. Maybe also like exploration of universe or human psyche or humanity overall, because you may be having a game that is exploring the way things were in the past. It goes through different stages. Honestly, the limit's sky high, and I really, really appreciate and thank God that I'm living in an era where these things are developing, because for somebody who's been a child watching animated films in cinemas many years ago, where this was like the only form of entertainment for children, I really find it absolutely astonishing that my favorite graphic novels of those days today are being visualized. I can enter the world of them in the worlds of Mass Effect, Destiny, No Man's Sky, and all the games which are sort of with sci-fi elements, which I really loved when I was a child, and I can become an active participant. I'm in there, and I'm loving and enjoying those worlds. It's just absolutely fantastic, and really I'm feeling humbled and privileged to have been able to enter the world of my favorite graphic novels. I mean, I need to just explain that I loved Trigger Empire of Don Lawrence's. It was my favorite graphic novel, and Storm as well, which he produced in the 70s. So Destiny and Halo and these types of games, they're literally like an extension of that world. They're not exactly the same, but the complexities of what Trigger and his friends and brothers were facing in Trigger Empire is very similar to the hostilities that humanity is facing here in Destiny. So there is a merger. Gears of War, I thought initially when it came out, was very, very similar as well. But I just truly, truly love the fact that I can walk in and become a part of that wonderful, wonderful fantasy world. And don't forget, with the new tech, with new consoles, with new accessories like top-notch headsets, we are going to be just massively enhancing the whole thing. And I listened to the podcast of the Xbox developers the other day, who were recommending certain headphones, and you don't have to be spending £150, £250 on the top-notch Pro headphones as presented by them. You can go for the cheaper ones of £15, £25, £30, and still they will provide you with phenomenal quality. Because I think if we are to consider what the next step within the game industry is going to be, it's likely to be all about the quality experience, right? So it's similar to when you go to cinema, you watch Star Wars in IMAX. Well, go and watch it in IMAX and go and see it in a standard screen. The difference will be phenomenal. Honestly, it's just like I'm watching a different film. There's one big thing I really experienced on the grander scale was when I watched Gravity with Clooney and Sandra Bullock. And this is a film which is all about the personalized experience of terror when you're out there in the dark, in space. And I watched in IMAX about 3 or 4 times, and it was just phenomenal. It's just an experience of a lifetime. And I wanted to compare it, so I went to see it in a standard screen. Obviously the film was as good as always, but the quality of that experience was on a completely different level. I did not feel that degree of terror, of fear, and everything else that I really could sense in IMAX. I was in that spacesuit. I was Sandra Bullock there and then. And that's the future of video gaming. And that's exactly what will be happening with those high quality accessories and the new consoles, and generally with everything else that the video games are going to be giving us. So think about it. If you are doing a game like Warzone, it's still not there yet really with the sound quality. Everything will be measured. You'll have a complete perfect replica of your environment, so you will be able to tell exactly how far somebody was from you if you listen to the footsteps. Not happened yet, but it will be there in due course. So it's all about the quality of that experience. It is about how immersive the world is going to be, and how greatly interactive we are going to be becoming within that wonderful fantasy world. So that's the next stage, that's the next step, together with the fact that I believe that video games will be used as an educational tool very shortly in schools and colleges. And what better way for people to learn by actually get in the game and do this? I mean, I have to say, you've got to try Odyssey, Assassin's Creed. I mean, honestly, you learn everything about ancient Greece. Everything. You just walk from one monument to another. It's a special section, but you got to do it, and you will learn so much about it. And the capacity for development there is phenomenal. You can literally go through the entire history, build excellent DLCs and add-ons, and as I said, the limit is sky high. Right, so I've given you a very, very lengthy introduction, and I also want to tell you a bit more on the games that I will be introducing in here. Right, I've gone through the list that I have on my Xbox and everything I downloaded, and I will be giving you a very, very good idea on what the DRBMiller introducing section as well as Golden Oldies is going to be like. So we'll start today, in fact, very shortly, once I had my break, with Echo Generation. And Echo Generation is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful indie game that was introduced during the Game Awards last year, and I've not played it, but there was some problem with the update, and I managed to get it in the Christmas time, so I'll give you a bit of that. And I have to say, what I love about it is its humor. It is absolutely hilarious, and we are going to be trying it, and you get the idea of what this game is going to be like, and really look forward to it. I guess similar to Oxenfree, one of those games that didn't really receive a huge amount of publicity, but there's nothing better. There's nothing better for a gamer to walk in and then discover that the game you never heard of turns out to be absolutely delightful. But that's the best possible experience. Similar to film archaeology. You discover a film that somebody made when they were in the youth. You never heard of the film turns out to be incredible. That's exactly the way we want it to be. It keeps us on our toes, gives us a lot of excitement, and it makes our activity, the archaeological activity, both in video gaming and film history, very much worthwhile. So Echo Generation I'll present today, very shortly after this broadcast. Then there's another game that I acquired as well, called Gems of War. And as I said, the games presented do not have to be brand new. They could be already the games that have been around for a while, but there are going to be attached to either Games with Gold on Xbox, or Game Pass, or indeed on PS Now services. And there's quite a variety in there. Gems of War is really terrific because it comprises the strategy game, kind of turn-based strategy game with chess, and you've got a puzzle in there with different types of icons that you need to be toying with in order to advance battles. So very interesting concept. I've never done anything like this before, but I really thought it was very, very good and very enjoyable. And a bit mind-boggling. You increase the difficulty level, so it'll take a bit of time, but you will see once we crack on with that. The game I really want to be introducing and playing in here, not just a one-off, but want to complete it, is Night Call. And I've talked about this game quite a lot, and was a bit worried that perhaps the game will disappear from the hub, the streaming hub of Xbox, but that's not been the case, and we want to catch up with the story. I mean, anyone who loves Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver is going to be really, really excited and really entertained by all that's happening in Paris. You have this taxi driver who is being caught up in some really shady dealings, and therefore he needs to cooperate with the police, and you get to know everything about Paris and the France of today when you are in the game. So really, really exciting to be able to do it, and also it looks brilliant. It's a very simple game in terms of its in-game mechanics, but you get the layout of a top-notch French graphic novel, and you will be familiar that France and Netherlands and Belgium are basically the countries that developed and advanced graphic novels in Europe. So I don't know where you've been to Brussels, but there's so many fantastic graphic novel shops in the very town center, and you walk in and you have the characters from your favorite comics in there walking about, and life-size statues of Lucky Luke and Dalton Brothers and everyone else. And French really are always excelling with the visuals, and also within the sphere of video gaming, as we know, with many games that are produced through Ubisoft and various other companies. But I think Nightcall is a very good example of a perfect indie developer, and a game that is terrific in every way, from the way it runs its narrative through kind of interactivity, the plot, the visuals, the design, the appearance of a top-notch graphic novel, to the variety of different outcomes you'll be getting depending on how you were proceeding with your investigations. So Nightcall is another. So I'll go back: Echo Generation, Gems of War, Nightcall, the ones I mentioned first. Dead Cells has been on my radar for quite some time, and I played it on my Android quite a bit. It's accessible through on-screen controller, so if you have a top-notch mobile phone, absolutely download it and try it. The tricky thing with platformers, if you play them on mobiles, is that they come across as fairly small. The images are quite small. I prefer seeing something on a much bigger screen. But certainly Dead Cells is an enjoyable game, and I really loved it on xCloud, so therefore we'll do a proper presentation of it here. Oxenfree, you've seen already. I introduced this as part of Xbox Game Club, and that's also something that we'll be introducing in here. Xbox Game Club will be introduced every single week with the Game of the Week, at least within one stream, and we'll be basically joining our forces with Xbox gaming community in order to do this. We introduced several games already last year. Titanfall and Oxenfree and Sea of Thieves are amongst them, but I know that during the Christmas time they also had a few more which I was not engaging with. So we'll maybe have Xbox Game Club week, and then we'll do one game per day excuse me, in order to introduce to our viewers. Therefore we'll catch up with everything. But Oxenfree we've had here in November. I introduced it, and I have to say I was very impressed. Again, a game that had produced by a very small company of developers. I think 7 people worked on it, and one person previously was part of Disney Crew, and the other guys came in from Telltale Studios. So it's a mixture of family-friendly Disney-style graphics and animation with perhaps a bit of a darker side of storytelling, and we'll have it back here again, and we'll enjoy it. I really loved it, and I thought was what I liked in particular was the fact that you could walk the characters, and then indeed you can they talk all the time basically. So it's not like with NPCs in some of the other games where you're static and they're telling you something. In this instance they walk around and they do different things and they keep talking. So that was interesting. Also I like the atmosphere, and I want to find out actually what happens in the story. I haven't gone that far. Then we have a game that I really want to play, and brings me back to the early days of the internet, called Hypnospace Outlaw. And basically you need to be dealing with early days of the internet hackers, the way they were kind of snatching information and breaking into people's bank accounts and all sorts. And that game is again looking like a retro game from that era. You've got exactly the same sort of layout and everything, and that is looking remarkable. I've seen some trailers and some intros through various Xbox presentations, and literally caught my eye straight away. It is on Game Pass, and we are going to be introducing it, so I really look forward to that. I still have lots of magazines from these early days, from the mid-90s, when internet was in its infancy, and it's very interesting because the graphics and the design of the game are absolutely in sync with the way things were. A game I bought recently, Bear With Me, is a bit like a film noir with bears. I really love the idea, and I've seen that they're selling a complete edition of this game, comprising all the episodes, for about £2.50 or something. Still available today, so if you are on Xbox, make sure you look at every single offer today, because the offers are ending at some point tonight, and you will not be disappointed. Iconfell is another one. It was also Game of the Week, offered by Xbox Game Club a couple of months ago. Spiritfarer, has been voted one of the nicest, the best, the most positive, illuminating, family-friendly games of the year. So we definitely want to have it as well. The Book of Unwritten Tales, I played quite a bit and I loved it. It's a wonderful RPG in sync with all the other ones we played over the years. Submerged is also, I think it's a demo of a game that is to come out, and it certainly looks like work in progress, but it was very, very interesting and visually aligned with Lara Croft series. So anyone who likes Tomb Raider will be in awe of Submerged as well. Vambrace has been around for a little while. You played it on Switch, and it's been brought to Xbox, and I played quite a bit of it. Really loved it. I thought it was, it's a turn-based strategy game, and very, very funny. Lots of interesting characters and very, very good storytelling. There was some criticisms launched the game, but so far I played a bit of it and didn't find anything wrong with it at all. I love the graphics and love the story. Just my kind of game, really. Then there's another one that the vast majority of people never heard of, right? And it's again a turn-based strategy game. I know that turn-based strategy games are generally not popular, but consider, for instance, Gears Tactics, a game that probably is going to be revolutionizing the way these the way the genre operates, because they comprise the usual RPG with FPS fighting sequences together with turn-based strategy elements. And I think for anyone who likes turn-based strategy series, then you have on Xbox Game Pass, well, 3 that you can immediately engage with, and you will not be disappointed. First of all, you have Wasteland series. They're absolutely terrific. Then you have Gears Tactics, which is wonderful. And then I just remembered on PlayStation now you have XCOM. On XCOM I played quite a bit and loved it. Thought it was a very, very interesting, very good turn-based strategy game with elements of sci-fi and FPS and all sorts. So, plenty to choose from. But Plague Road is the one I accidentally discovered through special Xbox with Gold offers, and I love the game. It is just like beautifully designed and has a really good story and lovable characters, and that is the one we are going to be presenting in here. Fairy is the other. Pandemic is the one which resembles tabletop games and the ones with cards. My Friend Pedro. Then we have the Bard's Tale trilogy, and that's been completely reworked. And they have 2 different ways to which you can enter, similar to what we experienced with Dragon Quest XI. And we are definitely going to be enjoying it. Very, very funny game. For anyone who likes Elder Scrolls, you're gonna love it. Then we have After Party. After Party was promoted quite a bit a while back by Xbox, and I played a bit of it. It's like a weird sort of activity that takes place in a college with Satan, the devil, paying a visit, and then coercing people into various activities where they will need to bring some other people back to life. So quite funny, a bit macabre, but we'll try it. And I've not played much of it. I've just gone through the beginning of the game, and it seemed similar to Oxenfree. In fact, it looked very kind of family friendly, but with a twist. And then talking about Golden Oldies. Okay, Golden Oldies is going to be a regular presence here on my channel, and that's going to be created primarily for the benefit of the older gamers, right? People who have been in the business, or people who enjoyed games for more than 20-30 years, because we'll try to introduce the games that are either forgotten or the games that were played a lot originally many years back, and also we'll be looking at franchises and a series that still attract a lot of interest and attention many years later. So the ones singled out here immediately are the games that you're very, very familiar with. Considering we have Valhalla out at the moment, we are going to be doing a bit of Assassin's Creed trilogy. We'll go back in time, we'll go back to the originals, and we'll do a bit of gaming with those in order to bring us back to the roots of Assassin's Creed, the way it all started. And then we'll be looking at Alan Wake. And you'll ask, well, what for? Really, Alan Wake's like an old game? Well, the answer is simple. Remedy had produced also Control, one of the biggest additions to Game Pass, the game that many people labeled as one of the best of 2019. I played a bit of it on PlayStation, I quite liked it, but haven't gone really very far. So this is going to be a wonderful opportunity, first of all, to engage with the studios. And Alan Wake certainly for me resembled Silent Hill meeting Twin Peaks. And lots of interesting activities in there, so definitely worth a visit. And then, we'll have maybe some glimpse of Splinter Cell. We have Splinter Cell trilogy, the original three. We'll have a bit of Mass Effect, a bit of Fallout. All the big Elder Scrolls like Oblivion and Skyrim, all the big golden oldies, and we can always go back and revisit and enjoy some of those activities. I'm always delighted, when I revisit, and particularly when I go back to the games I played, kind of incessantly many years back, when I just discovered that it didn't really matter at all the years have gone back. The games have not aged. And I remember having discussions with my brother a little while back, and with some colleagues as well, on the quality graphics, and they all said, I kind of like high quality graphics. It's really my sort of passion for graphic arts overall. I much prefer games that will have, like high quality visuals, and being able to play Destiny and Warzone, and all the other wonderful games like Fallout, the latest one. I've not played Valhalla, but like some of the Assassin's Creed games on a massive big screen of 60-inch on Sony Bravia has been a true revelation, and you really become fully part of that world when you enter, those deadly caves, and you roam the planets like Moon or Mars in Destiny. You just feel like you're there. You are encountering all of those deadly beasts. So they all told me, be not fooled, because the quality of those games will withstand the pressure of time. And I wasn't quite certain at the time that this was to be the case, but the fact is that's exactly the case. People playing Diablo today would just love the way the game is. Didn't really matter that the years have gone by, and it's always truly delightful to be revisiting and discovering that the quality of those games is exactly the same today as it was. We might have not had graphics, but the quality content, the dialogue, the narrative, the storytelling, all the ins and outs of the puzzles, they're all there. And I guess we can adjust to a degree. The games in the old days were not as lengthy as they are today. And in fact, Jeff and Larry from Xbox talked in one of the recent broadcasts about the huge amount of time they're dedicating to the games like Valhalla or Watch Dogs or Destiny and Cyberpunk, which is understandable because these are the games with ever-evolving open world, so there's always something else happening in there. But you got like the basics, the campaign. I'm going to say we broke the game, I completed it. It's when I complete the campaign, so that basically is the way it is. So I think that's probably giving it all in a nutshell. This is all about the way this channel is going to be operating, and I've given you lots of thoughts on what we are likely to be doing in here. I think the new concept of a lengthier stream that is divided into separate sections will be interesting, and certainly will provide you with some entertainment and high quality content. I think dividing into the separate sections will provide me personally, as well as the community, with ease of use. If we are researching, if you want to go back to what we said on such date, like today, 4th of January of 2021, we just enter the date and it'll pop up on YouTube. Through playback we'll be able to see exactly what we did and what we completed. So that is going to be easily accessible, and it's going to be a bit more organized, purely in terms of how things are laid out before us. We'll know exactly who wants to be coming at what time, as Destiny and Warzone streams will be appropriately firmly scheduled. We'll know exactly at that time the broadcasts will occur, and also we'll be using Discord for our internal communication in order to ensure that we always can squad up at any moment in time. And Discord is the new addition to our selection of tools here with online gaming. I've had my Discord channel for a while, but I've not been using it as much because I don't stream through PC. But we all discovered, particularly during our Warzone streams recently, that as we were all coming across on different platforms. Not everyone was on Twitter or Facebook, and therefore having Discord was suggested as the very best way through which we can all communicate and connect at any moment in time, and it's worked. So we're all there, and anybody who wants to join us, just hit me up with a message, we'll bring you in. We have 3 sections in there. One section is dedicated to Destiny, the other to Warzone, and the third one to kind of general video gaming online. We have chat forums, and we have also live audio forums. I think generally live audio forums will be using primarily here on Twitch for people to come in and talk live on air. So if you're interested in participating, raise your hand and definitely ping us a message in order for us to come up with invitations, so you can actually talk live and be vetted, because we need to know exactly what people are like to be saying here in view of the rules that we have here on the channel. And if you are a member of our Destiny or Warzone community, or indeed if you're attached to Apex or anything else we stream, you can always join us on Discord. You can ping us a message, we'll bring you in, and there you'll be able to talk, discuss, share everything which is gaming related. That includes squadding up, throwing in requests for many sessions, particularly for more difficult ones like raids in Destiny, or if you want to be doing the challenges in Warzone. And also you can then share some of your clips and your screenshots and some of your other in-gaming activity. All of that is moderated and will have to be in line with the channel rules. But as you know, we are here a group of mature gamers, and we do always exactly the same. We provide high quality, family friendly content for everyone to enjoy on all platforms. So we've had no concerns, complaints or issues so far at all. I know some people are a bit concerned or slightly unhappy if generally they preferred participating in adult forums where they could swear and say certain things which are not particularly pleasant, but that certainly is not something we can be catering for here. And as I said, so far so good. Overall, everyone has been very, very happy with everything provided. Right, my friends, so this was our first big industry news bulletin delivered in a new format here on my channel, DRBMiller Gaming Dialogue channel on Twitch. And I hope you enjoyed all that's been said. We divided it into 2 different sections. One was dedicated to the questions coming from the community about streaming overall, about how to build your own presence online, what to do in order to attract regular participants. I've given you quite a good detailed rundown on what you can be doing based entirely on my own personal experience of it. And the second section was dedicated to the evolution and partly review of this channel. So hope you enjoyed all we talked about. Hope you enjoyed the suggestions. For the very ending of this session, I would just like to ask everyone to provide me with your feedback. So if you have some ideas on what we can do here, what we can do better, what you would like to see, specifically in the section that is going to be dedicated to golden oldies, or the DRBMiller introducing, send us some of your thoughts and views, and I'll be running regular weekly polls on Twitter that will be asking my community to decide on what games to be streaming. It'll be quite a mixture, we'll always want to be doing something that people are excited about, and the games that are very popular, that will bring in fond memories from the past, etc, etc. So more feedback the better, and it doesn't always have to be positive. We can hear about things that you believe we can be doing a lot better, things that can be enhanced and indeed perhaps produced in a different format, but just make them really sharp, crispy, short and sweet, so that we can understand everything that is being said. Kind of Bible long waffles are never appreciated in this forum, and you will know from postings on Reddit that people kind of will always provide bullet points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and describe really what issues they have. Reddit is another forum which is very, very useful. We may expand to Reddit very shortly, but I think presently we'll use Discord as the main hub for kind of in-squad communication amongst the clan and regiment members in here. So yeah, send us your views, your thoughts and your ideas. Tell us what you would like to see, how you would like to participate. Maybe you want to be participating in a blog-like format, or maybe you want to communicate through some of the other platforms on social networking, tell us, and I'm always prepared to hear all the suggestions and views, and I'm always there to evolve, to develop, because I'm not a person who likes doing the same thing all the time. I really always keep my eyes and ears peeled to any form of invention, any novelty, anything that is out there, and also want to always thoroughly review everything we do, because we want to make it more dynamic and more interesting for everyone to enjoy. Alright, so thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for being our dedicated community members right from the beginning. Thank you for your support, for your contributions, for your donations, for anything else we've seen during the last 3 years. We are truly and fully moving into that third year of broadcasting in here. We are already progressing towards, I think it's 4th month within that third year, and with some major changes applied to the channel from today. So hope you enjoyed all you've seen and heard, and I'll take a short break now, and after that we'll do the first section of our kind of new part of the broadcast called DRBMiller Introducing, and that will give you Echo Generation DGA demo. So we'll look at that, and I think to sweeten it all up afterwards, we'll do a bit of Destiny with the Dawning, which is ending tomorrow, and then we'll call it a day. So hope you enjoyed it, and once again I thank you for both watching and for supporting the channel, and then I look forward to seeing you very shortly for our presentation of Echo Generation DGA demo. So stay with us, I'll be back very, very shortly.